We often say that lean management is all about the people. In fact, the two pillars of a lean workplace are continuous improvement and respect for people. And as it turns out, it's the creative ideas of people that make continuous improvement possible, and mutual respect that makes teamwork possible. Now, mutual respect and teamwork are all about helping each other out. However, even when people want to help out, sometimes they can't because they haven't been cross-trained. Well, being able to identify this issue is one of the many benefits of using this skill matrix, our lesson in this module. All right, in this module, I want to talk to you about a tool of visual management called the skill matrix. Specifically, by the end of this module, you'll know what a skill matrix is, the reasons why you should use a skill matrix, and what you need to do to get started. Now, the skill matrix is one of the most useful and widely applicable tools for lean practitioners, and I'm sure you'll find use for it. So, let's get started by answering the question, what is a skill matrix? The skill matrix is a visual chart showing the versatility of your workforce in terms of the number of different jobs or skills each person can perform and to what level. For this reason, it's also called a versatility chart. Now, it's very important to remember that the skill matrix is not just a record-keeping document for cross-training which stays filed away in a drawer or in a computer. Instead, it's a tool of visual management. So, let's review the definition of visual management for a moment. Well, visual management is the ability to immediately detect problems in the workplace. And with this said, let's look at one of the primary abnormalities or problems a skill matrix identifies, namely gaps in succession plans. Now, this example shows that one office worker has been trained to complete all of the accounting, HR, and safety tasks. What would happen if this person became sick for a few weeks or left a company? I'll tell you what would happen. Important business functions could not be completed in their absence, and this can have a very real impact. Now, many companies, both big and small, have this exact problem, but are not aware of it until it's too late. When processes are not well documented, or when there's not a vigorous program of employee training, often the method of working is very dependent on the person. Although in manufacturing distribution operations, it can be easier to learn a job by watching and copying a veteran worker. In administrative or information work, it can be very hard to know who can do what. Well, the skill matrix helps define the process and identify who can do and who cannot do the tasks. So let's take a closer look at how the skill matrix makes the skill level of each person visible. Well, typically a skill matrix has three elements: the person, the skill, and the pie or circular symbol showing how skilled each worker at a particular task is. Now, depending on how you divide up the skill levels, you can have 2, 3, 4, or as many as 5 levels. In this example, we show a circle with 5 levels of skill. Okay, well, let's press on now and discuss some more reasons we should use a skill matrix. The skill matrix is mainly used to develop a multi-skilled workforce through cross-training. In a market with customers who change their minds rapidly, we need to be flexible, increasing or decreasing the volume of our work and even the variety and mix of the work we do on any given day. The more versatile we are, the better prepared the workforce will be to meet the demands of tomorrow's customer. Additionally, as a person who's likely being asked to learn more skills and become a multifunctional worker, you might ask, what's in it for me? Well, there's a proven link between education, training, and how much a person can earn. You see, a well-trained and educated person makes much more than a person who has not had the opportunity or has not continuously educated themselves and developed their skills. Well, the employers of today are looking for flexible and skilled workers, and many will pay more for a cross-trained worker who can step in and help out in any position on a team. Next, the continuous improvement cycle that's at the heart of lean management begins with a documented standard. In fact, Taiichi Ohno, one of the chief architects of the Toyota production system, and to whom we owe much of the philosophies and tools of lean used today, said, "Where there's no standard, there can be no improvement." Well, standardized work, which we'll discuss in more depth in a separate course, is the most efficient combination of manpower, machinery, and materials based on takt time, work sequence, and standard work and process. Now, if that sounds like a complicated mouthful, don't worry. The key thing to remember is that when you make an improvement, it needs to result in a new standard. And people need to be trained in this new standard. Well, the skills matrix will help you manage how to cross-train people in this new way of working. Now then, in a team-based work culture of a lean organization, the team leaders are there to support the entire team. This means that the team leader must be familiar with all of the operations in their work area and be able to not only perform all the top processes, but teach and train new people on how to do these tasks. So, another important function of the skills matrix is to visually identify candidates for future team leader positions and to motivate and encourage people towards future leadership positions by becoming cross-trained. Of course, a good team leader or supervisor needs much more than simply the knowledge of the work they're supervising. But this is the first and essential foundation for being a leader of a team. Next, how would you like to do the same simple tasks day in and day out with no variety? Well, some organizations have had the philosophy of expecting their workers to check the brain at the door and just perform simple repetitive tasks. But this is not the way of the lean organization. The continuous improvement pillar requires that everyone use their experience and ideas to solve problems and find better ways. And the respect for people pillar means that we make the jobs more rewarding and less boring. Now, studies have shown that when people are responsible for a wider range of tasks and can see the results of their work, job satisfaction, engagement, and productivity improves. Now, I don't know about you, but I'd much rather learn how to cook a whole bowl of pasta than just be the best at boiling the noodles. Last, but certainly not least, all jobs must be safe. In both office work and factory work, doing the same tasks over and over for days and weeks can result in repetitive stress injury. Now, there's absolutely no need for this if you have a cross-trained and flexible workforce, so that you can switch jobs during the day and exercise different parts of your body and your mind. All right, well, let's spend some time discussing exactly how to go about using the skill matrix. But before then, let me just say that many people like to make the cross-training process immediately high-tech. And while you can use databases and link the use of the skill matrix to training and skill development software, the best thing is to start simple and experiment. Remember, one of the lean principles is to make problems immediately visible. And for this reason, the skill matrix should initially be a paper and pen exercise, easy to create, update, and post in the work area. As an aside, we're providing a template in the resources section to help you get started. All right, so let's get to it and learn exactly how to use the skill matrix. First, we need to decide who will be cross-trained. Start with one team or area with a relatively stable process, a stable team, and a team leader who knows the work and can train people effectively. Now make a list of the people in the area across all shifts and put it on the vertical column. And it's also a great idea to add their photo to make the skill matrix more personal. Second, identify the processes you want to cross-train. Again, some people try to do too much at once, defining every process in great detail. Just apply the 80-20 rule at first and turn the continuous improvement cycle rapidly. So start with the most common processes defined in terms that everyone can agree with. You can always revisit these process boundary definitions later. Third, we need to decide whether a simple two-level trained, not trained is good enough, or if we want to show who is just starting training and can help out, who is able to do it on their own, and who are the master trainers. Now, we recommend using 4 or 5 levels as shown here. Fourth, we need to put it all together by assessing people's skills in various jobs. Now, this is one area where we need to exercise some respect for people. In many cases, people's feelings can get hurt when it's exposed that they have very few skills compared to other people. But this can also be motivation for them to learn new skills and rapidly progress. Another potential problem was when people who thought they were masters suddenly find out that they are in fact only at a medium level of skill, or may not even be following this standard at all. So, in order to prevent these misunderstandings, it's important to communicate thoroughly ahead of time that the assessments are not a personal evaluation, but an evaluation of the company's level of cross-training. People shouldn't think they failed because they are a level 1 or 2. This is just a case where a previously unknown problem, namely the lack of cross-training and versatility in the organization, has become known. A truly lean organization will celebrate the exposing and removal of such problems. One more point. Training, like improvement, needs to be based on an objective standard. You should prepare the standard method before you begin cross-training to prevent argument about whose method is better. Now, once you've created a first-pass skill matrix, you'll begin to see gaps. The team leader of the area should set goals to fill these gaps based on the needs of the business, the interests of the individual team members, and the day-to-day priorities of the team. Now, once you have these targets set, you're ready to begin cross-training on the job. Well, so far we've learned what a skill matrix is, why it's necessary in a lean organization, and how to use one. Now, I'd like to briefly introduce a few other tools and concepts that are essential to making a cross-training system based on the skill matrix possible. Now, in an upcoming module, we'll dive deeply into an extremely useful methodology called job instruction. It was developed over 60 years ago as a way to increase productivity during the war effort. In short, job instruction is a 4-step method for supervisors and team leaders to effectively train people in their job. Now, whether you follow the job instruction method or another very similar method, before you get started using a skill matrix, it's necessary to make sure your trainers are adequately skilled in training others. A job instruction table is simply a chart for the trainer to keep track who he or she will train in which element of which job at what time. And once we have the trainer, the trainee, and the training plan, what we need next is an opportunity. Unfortunately, this is one place where well-intentioned companies fall down. You see, without a system of job rotation, people can get stuck in the same job all day or even all week. So, one of the first things to do when planning for cross-training is to create an opportunity for people to learn on the job by rotating into other jobs. Now, the rotation can be several times per week at first. Then, as you get more cross-trained, it can be daily and even every 2 hours, synchronized with break times. Finally, I'd like to say a few words about barriers that exist to cross-training. Because using a skill matrix means that people will be learning to do jobs in different processes or even different departments, the existence of multiple pay grades or job classifications can sometimes prevent people from freely working in other areas. These are often artificial rules created by the company or through agreement with the labor union. Now, if this barrier exists, it needs to be removed before you can begin cross-training. The lack of documented standards, as mentioned earlier, can also lead to ambiguity when defining the levels of training, and it can also make training slower and less effective. There are certainly other possible barriers, but these are some of the most common ones to be aware of when getting started with the skill matrix. All right, well, this wraps up this module on the skill matrix. As always, if you have any questions, please ask away in the forum or by emailing us directly. Now, in the future, we'll be looking more closely at job instruction, standardized work, and how effective teams help each other out and solve problems. Until then, my name is Ron Pereira, and on behalf of all of us at Gemba Academy, I'd like to wish you all the best as you progress on this never-ending journey of continuous improvement.